The three areas of focus for the millionaire real estate investor. In the late 1940s, quality control manager Dr. Joseph M. Juran documented a life-changing universal principle that he called the vital few and trivial many. The idea was that a relatively small percentage of your efforts lead to the vast majority of your results. He attributed some of his findings to the statistical work of the Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto, who had observed that 80% of the wealth in his country was owned by 20% of the population. As fate would have it, that broadly embraced principle came to be known as Juran's Law, but as Pareto's Principle. Came to be known not as Juran's Law, but as Pareto's Principle. These days, we simply call it the 80-20 rule. The idea that 20% of your actions lead to 80% of your results may be one of the most powerful principles you can apply to your life. It's about getting the most from your time and effort. It's about maximizing your results. It's about having focus. Focus is the key to great success, more than effort, experience, or even natural ability. Look at the highest achievers in any field, and you'll discover that they have powerful focus. Just as important, you'll learn they focus on the right things, the handful of truly important issues that make the biggest difference. They know what matters and when it matters. As you move towards becoming a successful real estate investor, you too will gain that level of focus. Although the results that come from that focus may start slowly, over time, they will grow substantially. When we conducted our interviews with high achievers in the real estate investment world, our goal was to discover the fundamental concepts they focused on day in and day out without distraction. In which areas did they strive to achieve mastery? What we discovered is that these investors focused on three simple but incredibly dynamic forces at the heart of real estate investing. In fact, these three forces are at the core of all investing: criteria, terms, and network. We've come to refer to them simply as CTN. They are, for us, the dynamic trio of investing. Criteria: what you buy. The first of the three is criteria. Criteria describe what you buy. They are the standards that define what kind of property you're looking for. Your criteria are the same things you ultimately list on your APB, All Properties Bulletin, when you're hunting for the next opportunity. Is the property a single family or a multifamily? What is the construction? Does it have the right features and amenities that make it attractive for resale or rental? Most important, where is it located? Your criteria are the aspects of the property that are immutable facts, the things that can't be negotiated away. They are a foundational piece of your investment strategy. In practice, criteria narrow an investor's choices to the properties that represent the greatest opportunity and the least risk. When the property you find matches your criteria, what you get in return is something with predictable value. Think of your criteria as an opportunity filter that keeps out the bad and lets in the good. And just as the good criteria are the backbone of successful real estate investing, bad criteria, or no criteria at all, may bend the downfall of many a would-be investor. In the Buy a Million section of this book, we'll discuss the specific criteria successful investors use to select their investment properties. Criteria are ultimately about identifying predictable value, and that is why they are the first area of focus for the millionaire real estate investor. Terms: how you buy it. If criteria define an opportunity, terms define how you turn it into a deal. Once a property meets your criteria, terms determine its value to you both now and for the future. Terms are the negotiable aspects of a purchase, and they include everything from the offer price, down payment, and interest rate to conveyances, occupancy, and closing costs. Every investor we asked told us that terms are where a great deal can be created from even the most modest criteria. A skillful negotiation of terms can lead to a better equity position, improved cash flow, and sometimes both. It's about how much money you need to acquire a property and close the transaction, and how much the property will yield over time. Terms are about maximizing financial value and represent the second area of focus for the millionaire real estate investor. Later in Buy a Million, we'll home in on the key terms of any transaction that can make the biggest difference in the relative success of an investment. You don't have to be a gifted negotiator like Roger Dawson or Donald Trump to capitalize on terms. It is about understanding the financial fundamentals of a transaction, knowing which elements are flexible, and being systematic about getting all you can from every deal. It's also about knowing when to walk away. Remember, you make your money going in, not going out. You buy right and you let the market go to work for you, as opposed to buying less than right and hoping the market will save you. Buying right means getting the right terms. Network, who helps you? The last member of the dynamic trio is network. Your network is who helps you in your investing. When we were attempting to pin down the critical areas that make the biggest difference in real estate investing, network was a surprise contender. We just didn't see it coming. The idea of the individual entrepreneurial investor beating the streets for deals is what comes to mind for most people. But again and again, throughout our research, investors referred to all the people who helped them succeed. They had relationships with people who sent them opportunities, mentored them, helped them buy and maintain their properties, and in many cases provided services that enabled them to do more while spending less time and effort. As a business person, I call this leverage, the fact that you can accomplish more with qualified help than you can accomplish alone. When we review the network in detail in Buy a Million, we'll help you understand how to establish a dream team for your investment career. From real estate agents to contractors and property managers, you will need help. In fact, although it was the last of the three items we identified, network will come first in your investing career, as you'll rely on these people to help you get your investment career launched safely, reliably, and profitably. The advice we provide in these pages will help you both select the best and work successfully with them over time. The three areas of focus for the Millionaire Real Estate Investor, criteria, terms, and network, answer the questions of what you'll buy, how you'll buy it, and who will help you. Remember, criteria identify, terms determine, and your network supports all the investing you do. Mastering these three areas will give you the greatest chance for long-term success and place you solidly on the path to becoming a millionaire real estate investor. Criteria, terms, and network. Your criteria identify potential deals. Your terms determine the real deals. Your network supports all your deals. The 4 stages of growth on the path to $1 million. The path of the millionaire real estate investor is a progression through 4 stages. First, you must learn to think a million. Think like a millionaire real estate investor before you make your first move. How you think matters. Whether this strikes you as a cliche or as a timeless truth, my experience has taught me that the bigger I think, the more I can accomplish. I've learned that while what I hold in my mind is what shows up in my life, learning to think like a millionaire real estate investor will give you the greatest chance of becoming one. The next step is to buy a million, in which you'll get a thorough understanding of the best models for investing in real estate and, more fundamentally, an understanding of money, the ways it is made and the ways it can be lost. The goal is to equip you with the working models you need to purchase investment properties with a market value of $1 million or more. Believe it or not, this is not the huge leap you might imagine, and many investors reach that mark long before they expected they would. Buy a million is about the fundamentals of acquiring properties, holding them, and in some cases selling them. Buy a million applies the power of criteria, terms, and network to launch your career in investing. After you buy a million, you'll set your sights on having an equity position of $1 million or more in your properties. We call this stage own a million. This is when you will realize that the investing you have done has blossomed into a bona fide business. With that transformation come a set of issues specific to the level of ownership. Acquiring properties through credit potentially becomes more difficult. Cash becomes a commodity, and managing your investments could require help from several quarters. This stage involves dealing with and often balancing cash flow with asset or equity buildup. It may involve selling, trading up, or exchanging. It certainly involves understanding the surprisingly simple realities of tax and owner entity issues. The good news is that by understanding these issues from the beginning, you can plan for them. That is what the models in this book are intended to help you do. By beginning with the right models, proven ones that can handle the big issues, you'll never have to stop and scratch your head, or worse, start over and reinvent what you do. The last stage of growth for a millionaire real estate investor is receive a million. Think of it as the summit, a place where only the best have gone. Receive a million is when you are in a position to receive an annual income of $1 million from your investments. Pivotal to this stage is that your investment business be designed so that you can choose to get out of the day-to-day work and enjoy the benefits of what you've created. Although you can step out at any point along the way, it is my hope that you will set your sights on a big goal. Exactly when you decide to move into the receive mode is up to you. Obviously, you don't have to wait until you're receiving $1 million a year. Like some of the investors we met in our research, you can accept the cash flow you've built and step out of the business sooner. Or you can wait and receive more down the line. The point is that if you followed the models of the millionaire real estate investor, you will have more choices, and that is a very good thing to have in your financial wealth building life. Moving forward, I believe that everyone has a chance to be financially wealthy. It begins with a state of mind, a way of looking at the world, and ultimately it evolves into a way of life. Financially wealthy people think differently from the rest, and as a result make different choices and enjoy more freedom in their lives. It's about living a larger life. It's about having greater choices. This book is about one of the best ways I know to build financial wealth: real estate investing. Real estate is accessible to all and is easily one of the most leveraged ways to build wealth. The biggest obstacles most people face are their own doubts and fears. Building financial wealth can seem both daunting and dangerous, but as we've said, opportunity, especially great opportunity, always lives on the other side of your fears. Learning how to get past those fears is our next task. In the following section, Myth Understandings, we're going to reveal the kinds of fears that hold most people back and explore with you why they should not do that to you. We will encourage you to shed any baggage that might slow you down. Then, armed with big, proven models, empowered by your big goals, you can confidently go for big results. You can follow the path of the millionaire real estate investor. It is a journey of financial wealth building. It is a journey of worth taking. Can be your journey too. Points to remember. Each of us should wake up every day and say to ourselves, I'm an investor. I'm building financial wealth. Is today the day I find an opportunity and make a deal? A proven model is a process or method used to produce desirable, repeatable results. A proven model built on the best practices of high achievers in a given area will produce the most desirable and predictable results, as well as maximize your chances for continued success over time. High achievers use models to take the luck out of the game. They implement big models to minimize risk and maximize profit when buying, holding, and selling real estate. The 3 areas of focus for the millionaire real estate investor: criteria, terms, and network determine what you'll buy, how you'll buy it, and who will help you. CTN, the dynamic trio of investing. Criteria, identify potential deals. Terms, determine the real deals. Your network supports all your deals. The path of the millionaire real estate investor progresses through 4 stages: think a million, buy a million, own a million, and receive a million. And they are best pursued in that order. Myth understandings. Fears are educated into us and can, if we wish, be educated out. Dr. Carl A. Menninger. The Devil's Wedge. In the old fable, The Devil's Best Tool, the devil is going out of business and selling all the tools of his trade. For sale are implements such as the hammer of hatred, the scythe of spite, the maul of malice, and the dagger of deceit. As one would expect, the devil's tools are all ominous, but oddly, the highest priced item in his arsenal is an extremely worn and harmless-looking wedge. When asked why it is so expensive, the devil slowly smiles and replies, to be totally candid, this may be my most powerful weapon of all. I call it the wedge of doubt. When all my other tools fail me, I know I can always rely on doubt and discouragement to break the heart and shatter the will of a man. How upsetting that something so small and often dismissed can be so devastating. As surprising as this is, the moral of this fable is quite clear. Don't underestimate the power of doubt to keep you from becoming your best. Don't underestimate the power of doubt to keep you from becoming your best. Yet, that's exactly what often happens in the world of investing. People doubt either their abilities or the possibilities. They simply don't believe they can really be investors or that investing can help them reach their financial freedom. When I talk with people about investing, what often becomes clear is that they don't initially recognize that fear or doubt is playing a significant role in their financial lives. They feel that investing is simply an intellectual option that they have or haven't taken advantage of. While they can acknowledge the value of investing, they can't quite justify why they aren't doing it more often or at all. Only when I press, asking questions such as, then why don't you do that? Do they finally realize that their doubts and fears are at least part of the reason they've been unable to give investing a serious and sustained try. That's why they finally have the aha that the opportunities of investing live on the other side of their fears and doubts, that the best financial rewards more than likely will be found outside their comfort zones. That's when they finally understand that fears and doubts undermine their confidence and their actions and ultimately can drive a powerful wedge between them and their dreams. 8 misunderstandings between you and financial wealth. In the process of interviewing millionaire real estate investors for this book, a clear pattern emerged. Almost without fail, at one time or another, these high-achieving investors had to confront a persistent fear or a nagging doubt about investing that later proved to be unfounded. In fact, we were able to identify 8 of those limiting beliefs that would-be investors commonly hold about becoming an investor and about investing itself. While these doubts and fears seldom are addressed in other investment books and seminars, the Millionaire Real Estate Investor we talked to impressed on us how important it is to address these subtle yet powerful misgivings early in the game. Rest assured, they told us, everyone who intends to become financially wealthy will deal with them sooner or later. It suddenly became obvious to me that these doubts don't go away on their own. Left unexamined or not dealt with, they can keep you from becoming a great investor. There's never a perfect time to start, so people should just start, because there are always deals. You just learn your market and always buy below value, and you can't go wrong. Jimmy and Linda McKissick, Millionaire Real Estate Investors, Highland Village, Texas. We came to understand that these are the myth, part misunderstanding, that people have about investing. And after some consideration, two distinct categories of misunderstandings emerged from the research. One, your misunderstandings about the way you look at yourself as an investor. And two, your misunderstandings about the way you look at investing. This surprised us. We thought the misunderstandings would be about money and investing, but the more we thought about it, the more it made sense. People generally have two ways of looking at anything: the way they see themselves in the world and the way they see the world and how it works. You might think it would be reversed, that your perceptions of how the world works would inform your sense of how successful you could be. But for some strange reason, it isn't. The image you have of yourself as an investor becomes the lens through which you see the world of investing, and that self-image will either guide you or misguide you. Interestingly, any myths that you have about yourself as an investor tend to magnify your misunderstandings about investing. That's why we call the misunderstandings about the way you view yourself as an investor the Big Three. The Big Three, misunderstandings about the way you look at yourself as an investor. Personal myth number one: I don't need to be an investor. My job will take care of my financial wealth. Truth: yes, you do need to be an investor. Your job is not your financial wealth. It is almost epidemic how many people think they don't need to be an investor. Usually that happens because they believe consciously or unconsciously that the path to financial wealth is through one's job. If you're like me and believe that financial wealth is about having enough unearned income to finance your life's mission without the need to work, chances are your current job income and savings plan will not be nearly enough to build true financial wealth. It is highly unlikely that your job creates enough income for you to set aside a manageable percentage of it, and at an average rate of interest, still achieve true financial wealth. Many years ago, this was a common and encouraged practice that I call the myth of a modest saver. Thrifty individuals would stash small sums of money in coffee cans, under mattresses, and in personal savings accounts, believing they eventually would achieve financial freedom. In more modern times, this modest saver has evolved into the modest investor. This is the person who takes a small percentage of his or her annual income and invests it in his or her company pension plan, a 401k, or a mutual fund. In this time, when many people don't save or invest at all, those modest savers and investors are actually ahead of the game, but their investments almost never amount to true financial wealth. All the modest saver of old and the modest investor of today actually build is a small financial nest egg to provide for their most basic needs. When most people stop to do the math, they are shocked at how little income their current investment plan will provide when they quit working. The truth is that only a tiny percentage of people, probably less than 1%, make enough income from their jobs to become financially wealthy. I'm talking about people such as highly paid athletes, actors, musicians, and executives. The extraordinary compensation these people receive is so large that they easily could live off a fraction of their income, invest the rest, and even with modest rates of return, achieve financial wealth. The operative word here is could. I'm continually amazed at how many of these high-income producers think they do not need to be investors. Here's the problem. They cling to a far-fetched assumption that their jobs will continue to provide these extraordinary streams of income. In fact, the more money people make, the more overconfident they tend to be about their financial future. Prosperity can provide a full sense of security. They may overspend and underinvest to the point that one day they wake up and realize they are on the downslope of their primary income earning years, and their lifestyle is about to come to an end. Others understand they should be investing, but then delegate all responsibility for their financial wealth building to other people. As presumptuous as it is to count on your income to always be there, I find it even more presumptuous to trust others to tend to your financial future. How many times have you read about athletes, actors, musicians, and business people filing for bankruptcy? The fact is that people tend to spend money in direct proportion to the amount they earn, and any extra money that comes along, gifts or bonuses, is earmarked for consumption before it ever arrives in their bank accounts. It seems strange, but a high income doesn't necessarily translate to financial wealth. One of the most startling examples I can think of is the story of former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson. Over a period of 20 years, Tyson reportedly earned over $400 million. Despite that, records reveal that he filed for bankruptcy in 2003 after falling $23 million into debt through extravagant spending habits and by allowing others to watch over his money. Not only did he not manage his money well, it appears that neither did those he put in charge of it. I'm certain he never felt he was capable of, or even that he should play an active role in his financial well-being. Like so many others, he might have said, "I don't need to be an investor. My work is my financial wealth, and others will manage my money." As we all know, Tyson eventually lost his job and his financial wealth. It's a sad tale, but one that, from a financial standpoint, is all too common among high-income earners. It is, as they say, easy come, easy go, and in a consuming society, that's exactly how it does go. I don't want to diminish the value of financial advisors. To the contrary, I engage them, have great faith in them, and believe everyone should have them. What I am saying is that wherever your money is, you need to be there too. No matter how much you make your money, or how much no matter how you make your money or how much you make, if you don't take an active role in your financial planning and money management, you're at grave risk for seeing your investments underperform or worse, be lost. As the old saying goes, a fool and his money are soon parted. We're not calling anyone a fool. Not acting like an investor or not being active in your investments is one of the most financially foolish positions you can take. I encourage you to take a look at your job differently. Your job is the venue where you can earn your initial investment capital, and a percentage of your wages must be dedicated to building up your investment stake. I don't want to shock you, but the legendary investor Sir John Templeton tells the story of how he and his wife lived off as little as 50% of their income at the beginning of his investment career. They made a game of seeing how well they could live on only a fraction of their household income. While you may not While you may not be like Templeton, choosing the path to financial wealth will require that you live off less than you make and consume less than the world tells you to. You can't let the media and advertisers set your values for you. Just as kids sometimes decide what to eat based on television commercials, adults tend to let the media convince them what they should spend their money on, and if their financial decisions aren't guided by a stronger compass. Don't get caught keeping up with the Joneses. The faster you can reach a position where you can begin your investment career, the faster you'll be able to achieve financial independence. I love the story of James Sorensen. In the 1940s, Sorensen had a job selling medical supplies in the Salt Lake City area and got in trouble for not spending enough money on his sales visits with physicians. When he turned in his first expense report for less than $5, his supervisor told him he needed to spend or at least report $30 or more for his client entertainment expenses each week, or he'd spoil the business for everyone. But instead of taking doctors out for drinks or fancy meals, Sorensen would buy them a coffee or soda. Then he'd take the difference and invest it in real estate. In those days, he would buy plots of land in Utah for as little as $25 an acre. About a decade later, the uranium boom hit, and those plots sold for thousands. Rather than just enjoy the perks, Sorensen didn't count on his job for his financial wealth. He started early and started small. He spent a lifetime thinking like an investor, working at a job he had a passion for, and investing for his future. As a result, by 2004, he was reportedly worth approximately $4 billion. Ideally, you should look at your work this way. It can be a passion that pays you money for doing what you love to do. Some passions pay more than others, but as historical history indicates, they rarely pay enough to create financial independence. Your job is your job. Financial wealth building is something else. That is how I think Sorensen looked at it, and I encourage you to do the same thing. Most people think that earning money in a job and saving some of it or sticking it in the company retirement plan makes them investors. It doesn't. But they think it does, or they think it is close enough that they don't need to be an investor. It is this misunderstanding that causes many people not to become true investors. Don't let that be you. Realize that whatever your job or work is, you also need to be an investor. You must wake up in the morning telling yourselves, I'm an investor. I'm building financial wealth. Today's the day I could find an opportunity and make a deal. Personal myth number 2. I don't need or want to be financially wealthy. I'm happy with what I have. Truth, you need to open your eyes. You do need and want to be financially wealthy. You have no idea what you will need or want beyond today. You cannot predict what life will offer you down the road for good or for bad. As hard as you may try, you can't predict with any confidence the resources you'll need to deal with life's uncertainties. Complicating everything is the fact that it takes time to grow money. Financial wealth building is not something that can be accomplished in reaction mode. It is really difficult to find more money just because all of a sudden you want or need it. As I've said all along, small money comes easily, big money does not. Becoming an investor, someone who pursues financial wealth building every day, is all about preparing for the minimums and maximums in your life, the unpredictable financial minimums you may need, and the unforeseen financial maximums you may want. If you choose not to pursue financial wealth, your future more than likely will be defined by extremely limiting financial choices. You may have to scramble to meet your changing needs or do without the things you eventually wish for. At a point in your life when settling for less might devastate you, you might have to do just that. Let me share with you a revealing conversation I had with one of my students on the pursuit of big financial wealth. Student: you know, Gary, I hear you talk about building financial wealth, and I understand the logic of what you're saying. The problem with that is I'm not motivated by money. I'm happy with what I have. I really don't need or want anything else. Life is going great just the way it is. Gary: fair enough. I truly appreciate your honesty and respect your answer. Now, I'd like to ask you a question. Do you have insurance? Do you have any car, homeowner, disability, or medical insurance? Student: sure, it's the prudent thing to do. Insurance takes care of the unplanned or unexpected, right? Gary: right. That's exactly the way I feel too. Things can happen that are beyond your control, and it's good to be prepared. My question for you, though, is this: how can you be sure that the unexpected won't happen in areas of your life that insurance won't cover? Student: I'm not sure what you mean. Gary: well, what happens if you suddenly lost your job or worse, your ability to earn a living? Student: honestly, I haven't really ever thought about it. I guess you just don't expect things like that to happen. I have no idea what I'd do in that situation. Gary: I understand, but it is a real possibility, and you should really think about it. And by the way, we're just talking about you. What if that sort of thing were to happen to someone you loved and that person wasn't financially prepared? Student: you know, that scares me a little bit. The thought that a friend or a family member might someday need my help and I wouldn't be able to provide it saddens me. If they had health issues or experienced a financial disaster, I think I might feel very bad if I were not in a position to help in a meaningful way. Gary: that's actually what I'm talking about. If something like that happened and you weren't prepared, at the very least, you might have to make incredible sacrifices in order to be of any help. You're a giving, caring person, and I'd hate to see you in that position. You're not alone in this. No one can know beyond today what he or she might or might not need in the future. And because that's true, doesn't it make sense to pursue more financial wealth than you currently need, if for no other reason, so that financial wealth can serve as your umbrella insurance policy for your life? I gave my student a moment to let the truth of our conversation sink in, and I honestly think it did. Sometimes it's hard to think in terms of future possibilities, especially unpleasant ones. As we talked more, I also let her know that all unanticipated needs aren't bad. What if she had a gifted child who needed special educational opportunities? What if an unforeseen opportunity arose that required more money to take advantage of than she currently had? I wanted to go in this direction because we hadn't yet discussed the other side of the issue. The idea that some needs are also about seizing valuable opportunities to move forward in life, and that sometimes you may want money beyond your current needs and necessities. Here's how the rest of the conversation went. Gary: just for argument's sake, let's imagine that you have all the money you'll ever need. You also have enough to take care of the critical unforeseen needs that might arise for your friends and loved ones. Now, if you still had an abundance of financial wealth after all those needs have been taken care of, are there any other things you might do with your money? Student: sure, I guess everyone daydreams about what they'd do if they had a lot of money. My first thought is that I'd love to take my parents on a long trip around the world. They've always wanted to travel, but they've never been quite able to. That would make me feel great. Gary: that's awesome. I love the idea of you traveling the globe with your folks. Is there anything else you do if money were no object? Student: oh gosh, that's so hard to imagine. I guess maybe I'd help a friend of mine. She's a single mom, and I know that helping her out a little would be a huge lift for her. Gary: that's great, but now I want you to think even beyond your family and friends. Are there things you'd like to see happen in your community? Student: well, of course. I'd go crazy with this. Uh, I'd fix up the homeless shelter downtown. I'd donate money to provide meals for the needy. I'd set up an after-school recreation program for kids. And actually, we need an emergency blood bank, and I'd fund that too. Honestly, Gary, there's so much that is needed right here in town. Gary: absolutely, I got it. But let's go even bigger than that for a second. What if you had financial wealth such that even after you did all those things, your reach could extend even beyond this town? What could you do? Well, that's even tougher. Who thinks about that? I mean, I guess I'd like to do something huge, like support cancer research, or maybe I'd want to create an organization to help fund the fight against heart disease. I might even be able to help put a dent in world hunger. Gary, now listen to yourself. Earlier you said it felt bad to think about pursuing more money. Now it sounds like you're imagining a very exciting life where you are able to make big difference in the world and in the lives of people. Student, I've never really thought about it the way that we're talking today. I guess I've always been afraid that money might own me. Gary, that's perfectly normal. I think a lot of people feel that way. There's this idea that having more money or pursuing it will change them, or even worse, corrupt them in some way and make them bad people. However, it's been my personal experience that having more money won't change you at all. What it will do is amplify who you already are. I believe that in the end, people are exposed to new possibilities by financial wealth and empowered by it. Instead of being changed by money, it simply allowed them to become more of who they really are. Student, that makes sense to me. More money just makes you more of what you already are. Gary, exactly. Your hypothetical responses just prove the point. You're one of the most generous souls I know. Having more money would just amplify your generosity. So tell me, how does this new view of your financial potential make you feel? Student, honestly, it makes me feel inspired. Gary, inspired? Student, yes, inspired. Inspired that my life could be so much bigger than I ever thought possible. Gary, you know what? You're inspiring me too. See this? See, this is the kind of thing that happens when you pursue maximums for your financial life instead of minimums. Suddenly, money can become good for the good it can do. And the more you have, the more good you can do. I appreciated the candidness of my student and her willingness to allow me to talk to her in this manner. What's fascinating is that she really did get it. She realized that there are two types of people in the world. First, there are those who, because they choose not to build financial wealth, have limited opportunities to care for themselves and their loved ones. Second, there are those who, because they choose to pursue financial wealth as an investor, have much larger opportunities to care not only for themselves and their loved ones, but also for so much more. It's the difference between a focus on the minimums life can require and a focus on the maximums life can offer. It comes down to what kind of person you want to be and the life you want to lead. My biggest mistake was not investing. Mike Netzel, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Later, as you might expect, she and I began to talk about how to make more money. This curiosity is the natural result of imagining how big your wants and needs might become. You progress from seeing that it might be impossible to believe that it should be, and then you realize that you are now motivated to seek financial wealth to your highest potential. Most people are taught to live within their means, but I was taught differently and encourage you to think differently as well. Instead of forgetting your dreams and living within your means, try pursuing the means to live your dreams. Personal myth number 3, it doesn't matter if I want it or need it, I just can't do it. Truth, you can't predict what you can or can't do until you try. I really struggle with this way of thinking. I just don't understand why people seem to want to place judgment ahead of effort and unproven opinions before a willingness to try. There's no way for you or anyone else for that matter to know your true financial potential. And because your true financial potential is unknown, it makes no sense to place limits on it. I can't do it becomes another rationale for not trying, for not stretching, for not exploring your potential. Some people have told me that they don't want to set themselves up for disappointment. The unfortunate irony is that the people who would rather not set themselves up for disappointment by going for it are the very ones destined for disappointment. The moment you buy into the idea that you can't achieve financial wealth, you put yourself on the path to complacency, compromise, and ultimately regret. Years ago, the online job search company Monster.com ran a provocative Super Bowl ad showing a series of children describing their financial dreams and aspirations. The award winning commercial combined humor with poignancy to make a powerful point about settling for what you thought you could do instead of pursuing what might be possible. The litany in the commercial went something like this. Child 1, when I grow up, I want to file all day. Child 2, when I grow up, I want to claw my way up to middle management. Child 3, I want to be replaced on a whim. Child 4, I want to be a yes man, yes woman, yes sir, yes, anything for a raise, sir. 3 or 4 other children continued with this refrain until the commercial closed with a surprisingly touching question. What did you want to be? With that question, the contrast between the modest aspirations and resigned attitudes of the children in the commercial and the shoot for the stars hopes real children have went from humorous to sobering. That was when you realized that you may have made more compromises along the way than you would have imagined, that somewhere along the journey of your life you stopped wondering what was possible for you and started thinking in terms of what was probable. In my experience, there are basically two ways people view their financial potential. There are those who think in terms of what's financially probable and those who think in terms of what's financially possible. Probability thinkers base their view on their future financial selves on their past history and current capabilities. They say to themselves, based on who I've been and who I am, this is probably what I can financially accomplish in the future. They use words such as realistic and likely when they discuss their financial potential. As a result, when they are presented with a new opportunity that doesn't fit their preconceived notions of their financial potential, they often conclude that they simply can't do it. For them, their financial future is determined, predictable, and ultimately static. Possibility thinkers, in contrast, rarely utter the words, I can't do it. They set aside any limiting notions they might have about their financial potential and base their view of their future financial selves on what they imagine themselves to be capable of accomplishing. And they use an altogether different vocabulary. Their potential is described in terms of what's conceivable, what's imaginable, what's possible. They say to themselves, I have dreams for a reason. Based on who I can become, this is what I can financially accomplish. They take into account that they might have to learn new things, acquire new skills, or change their habits to reach their full financial potential. For them, their financial future is flexible, active, and ultimately alive. A great example of this is Trammell Crow, who rose from humble beginnings to amass one of the largest real estate empires of all time. Child of the Depression, Crow and his 7 brothers and sisters grew up in a Dallas home with no bath or hot water. But Trammell didn't let his modest beginnings dictate the size of his future. In 1948, he went into real estate and saw a world of unlimited possibilities. He quickly realized that through loans and private investors, he could achieve his goals long before he could on his own. Crow's big idea was the commercial shopping mall. We take them for granted now, but in 1955, Crow's idea was revolutionary. By the 1960s, he was the leading developer of shopping malls in the United States, and by the 1980s, he was the largest real estate developer and property manager in the country. Today, because he saw no limits to his potential, the Trammell Crow Company is one of the largest diversified commercial real estate services companies in the world. Many of the real estate investors we interviewed told similar stories about how, before becoming investors, they would have been voted least likely to become financially wealthy by the world. Example: I bought one house for $5,000, sold it for $36,000, and made $10,000 on it. I was 25 at the time, so that was pretty good money when you're just going to school and waiting tables and just having fun. Carlos Rivero, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, Austin, Texas. Barbara worked as a home health nurse, and her husband Tom was in construction. They were a typical family living in a modest home with 2 cars and a pair of young daughters. Then in 1997, Tom came home not feeling well. The next morning, he couldn't move. Suddenly, Barbara was left to care for her children and an ailing husband while also having to earn enough income to cover 2 car notes, a mortgage, and a mountain of medical bills. Month after month, the Mathesons battled unsuccessfully to get workers' compensation. I'm living on macaroni and cheese here, she complained to her labor attorney. I can't do this. You have to help me. But his only response was, Miss Matson, this is a long process. In her efforts to keep the bills paid and the creditors at bay, Barbara was often just circulating her debt, robbing Peter to pay Paul. In the end, she was encouraged to declare bankruptcy and start over, but she was determined to not give up. In one of these positive coincidences, Barbara bought some tapes on investing in real estate. They originally were intended for Tom to fill his time and possibly eventually provide a way for him to earn income for the family. After all, he worked in construction and understood real estate. But he didn't show much interest, so Barbara listened to the tapes at night while caring for her youngest daughter. She also listened to them on the way to her home care appointments. Then in July 1998, almost 9 months after he became ill, a simple sneeze caused Tom's legs to go numb. He emerged from surgery cocooned in a body cast. Coincidentally, just when things were darkest, his workers' compensation was approved. They received a $20,000 check covering 9 months of back payments. Here's one of those defining moments when the difference between probability thinking and possibility thinking is revealed. Barbara had very little knowledge of investing. In fact, she just listened to that single set of tapes. Between work and looking after her husband and family, she had almost no time. Even though she had temporary possession of a large sum of money, her bills and debts added up to a lot more. In essence, she didn't have money at all. Faced with the same situation, what do you think most people would do with the money? Would they pay off their bills and get their accounts back in order? Would they use the money to supplement their income and get some relief? Or would they do what Barbara did when, in an inspired moment of clarity, she invested the money in real estate? My philosophy was survival, Barbara recalled. If I could start buying real estate and build up enough to replace Tom's income, it wouldn't be so bad if he couldn't work again. Over the next 6 months, she started buying rental properties. Eventually, the rents began to add up until finally she could see a light at the end of the tunnel. Today, because she placed no artificial limits on her potential, Barbara owns a real estate company and over $9 million in real estate. Because Barbara could imagine better possibilities and a bigger life, she was able to have them. One of the beauties of real estate is that you don't need money. If you can find a great deal, people will throw money at you. But most people can't find a great deal and tie it up, and they can't do it because they start from a poor person's point of view. I'll invest when I have money. Robert Kiyosaki, best-selling author and millionaire investor. Be warned. Once people step over into possibility thinking and believe that they can achieve financial wealth, they often see a whole new set of obstacles. They quickly become certain that they will need more time, more money, and investment knowledge than they currently have or could acquire easily. They think things like, it's too late, I don't have enough time. There's no way, I just don't have enough money to start investing. Or, I would if I could, but I have no idea what to do, and besides, I'm no good with money. What these individuals don't realize is that most big things start small. They mistakenly believe that big successes at anything requires big and mysterious things they don't have, such as the following: special natural abilities versus a little of some acquired abilities. Lots of free time versus a little bit of well-spent time. Massive amounts of money versus a little well-placed money. In the end, what you actually need to become a successful investor is a lot less than what you might think you need. Figure 5 on the facing page graphically demonstrates how much ability, A, time, T, and money, M, a person needs to begin an investment career. While many people mistakenly believe they need a lot of all three, they actually need a little of each: the right abilities, well-spent time, and well-placed money. Beyond this, they can accelerate their growth as an investor by picking one area to increase. They can choose to focus on acquiring more ability through reading seminars or mentors, give it more time, seeking opportunities or networking with other investors, or attract more money from family members, friends, or other investors or lenders. Over time, each of those three areas can grow, and your power as an investor will increase. The hidden secret is that the three factors are multipliers of each other. If you double your time, even if your ability and money remain the same, you double your current investment potential. If you double your ability and your time, you quadruple your current investment potential. If you double each of the three, 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8, you increase your current investment potential eightfold. It takes patience and perseverance, but you can make it big on little deals. You're not going to get rich overnight, but you will slowly. The investment game is played by beginning with a little of each and working to increase any one of the three. The chart below illustrates how this multiplier effect works when you increase your investing time, money, and ability. Your self-assessment in these three areas often dictates your strategy. People who have the luxury of time but have limited financial resources can focus on amplifying their ability to achieve greater success. They can also earn sweat equity by doing much of the work other investors might contract out. In contrast, investors with more financial resources and less time can afford to employ experts and contractors to make up their lack of time. Time and money are often strongly connected in that time can be used to earn money and money can be spent to buy time. Similarly, ability can be had with time, think books and seminars, or bought with money, think consultants. Understanding how ability, time, and money combine to produce investment results is an important step on the path to becoming a successful investor. The wonderful thing is this: any extra ability, time, and money you have in the beginning speeds up the process. When we interviewed best-selling author and multimillionaire real estate investor Robert Kiyosaki, he made an important observation. People will believe what they want to believe. They find excuses that prevent them from taking a look at what might work. And when they find a reason, they make that reason their reality. He was talking about the power of personal myths and the way they serve as barriers to achievement in our lives. The big three myth understandings are some of the most powerful limiting beliefs you can have, and we hope you're ready to step past them and discover your true financial possibilities. I'm hopeful that you now believe that your job is not your financial wealth, that you both need and want to pursue financial wealth, and that true financial wealth is possible for you no matter where you are in life. If that is the case, and you have moved past these fundamental doubts and fears, you're ready to address the misunderstandings people commonly hold about investing.